Okay, team, looks like we've got everyone who's going to join has joined. So we'll kick it off this week. Thank you all for those that have taken the time to jump into our masterclass series, our data-driven insights by Baremetrics. Those that you joined last week have already attended one session and provided some really great feedback. So I'll hope to incorporate that into this week's session. And if you are reviewing this call and have any questions about the content covered, please feel free to reach out and ask questions. I've been able to jump on some one-on-ones with individuals that are interested in how to apply the learnings that I'll go through today. And I'm more than happy to do that in an individual or a group setting for you and your team. So as mentioned last week, I'll cover a few of these introductory slides just to give you an idea of the context behind what we're trying to achieve here. But overall, Baremetrics, we are attempting to help entrepreneurs achieve their purpose. And the way we do that is we try and use our insights within Baremetrics throughout your revenue and your forecasted operating model. And we try and give you the insights you need to be able to move forward, to see the future, remove the noise, automate the mundane so you don't have to continually pull manual reports from multiple different data sources, and position ourselves as the experts in this field. We have a really strong team of financial and revenue-driven experts that can help you uncover the effective levers of growth in your business. How do we do that? We have an analytics and insights platform that really dives into your business, and we look at not only asking, what does this number mean, but the so what? What can you do with it once you understand it? Okay, whether we're pulling from Stripe, whether we're pulling from ChargeBee, Recurly, Google, Apple, etc., the ability to understand the data and then do something with it is probably the most important thing you need to do and use and leverage a platform like Baremetrics and our team to get there. So who am I? Who am I to stand in front of you today and lecture you about how to run a SaaS company? Well, I started my life as an army officer, went through university, moved into the military. And then after my career in the military, I transitioned across to working in digital projects and change management off the back of some business education. I then got an opportunity to move into the SaaS space in the private equity about 6 years ago. And from there, really cut my teeth on what it means to participate in the SaaS economy and in particular, mergers and acquisitions in the private equity space as well. I've been fortunate enough to be able to attend the Harvard Business School through their general management program, essentially an MBA extension. And from there, I actually gained a lot of insight into bigger business and how bigger business runs in the corporate world, and then how to translate those learnings down into something tangible for small scale SaaS companies and founders to apply. In my spare time, I'm a novice strongman. I like to lift heavy things and throw them around. I am an avid golfer, although not very good at it. And I love it. I get out around the beach and have a fish with my kids and my lovely wife. That's me in my spare time. What do I do in Baremetrics? I'm the CEO of Baremetrics, and I run these sessions as a way to try and transfer some of that knowledge that I've accumulated over the years, but also let you know how we work from a fundamental best practice. What we tend to cover, the first session was following the data. The second one's bang the drum, which is what we'll go through today, all about marketing. No lead left behind, how we cultivate and maintain a strong customer base, and holding hands. Really, how is it we work alongside our customers as trusted experts, trusted advisors to get them what they need? The fundamental part of this series is that what I will tell you today and in the other sessions isn't anything new. You've likely heard it before. You've likely read an article on LinkedIn. You're likely subscribed to a newsletter that talks about these things over time. Excuse me. However, there is a method in how you apply them to your individual context that is important. And the way I came to think about this is back in the early days of my military training, we get exposed to a lot of historical military education, including The Art of War by Sun Tzu. And The Art of War has been a fundamental military text for centuries. And what it understands is it underpins the way to operate in a military context with several core principles. And those principles you can see on the screen there: moral law, heaven and weather factors, earth or terrain, environment, the commander, the enemy, the market, method and discipline. But the bottom line there that I've got on that slide is, according to circumstances as favorable, one should modify one's plans. And that's what I fundamentally believe running a SaaS company is about. Part of Baremetrics working inside a private equity organization called Xenon Partners is we all have these core standards that we apply to every single company we manage. And inside that, we give the leadership teams the ability how to think, not what to think, right? So where are the areas we believe you can benefit from focusing on the most? And those core SaaS standards that we've come to inculcate as part of our everyday are the things that I mentioned at the top of the call: bang the drum, no lead left behind, hold hands, sell to build, follow data, align the team, and run a tight ship. You can see there that icon we've got, and it's also in this poster here to my left. That is in every leadership team's office. We use that in most of our presentations, and it is part of our performance management framework as to how well each company is adhering to and focusing on those core SaaS standards. These sessions to you are now, here is what we believe to be the best practice in how to run SaaS companies, and we've done it repeatedly over multiple investments. How do you then apply that to your context, to your market, your ICP, your industry? Hopefully you can draw some strands from what I talked through today and understand how to apply these core standards to your individual practice. So today we're going to talk about bang the drum. Bang the drums around marketing, messaging, positioning, having a position, having an identity. And the things we'll go through today is about the importance of a strong and clear homepage, H1, and a tagline, promoting benefits over features and some ways we can word that on our product pages, how to get the word out there and post about yourselves, whether that's through general social media platforms, Reddit, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. How to actually generate a sustainable cycle of new content as well as optimizing existing content. GitHub, the importance of GitHub commits and what that means from a marketing perspective, somewhat overlooked channel of marketing, and the importance of the leadership team, whether that's a general manager, a CEO, actually talking to your customer base in the form of prospects and people that are already part of your clients. Strong tagline. What do I mean when I say that? So I put up there, think different, and this is aspirational. Apple are at the size now where they are able to throw out a tagline like think different. You would notice some pretty strong identities out there. Just do it. Maybe she's born with it, and think different, as I mentioned. These are things you can work towards. That is not to say a SaaS startup will immediately approach the market with a tagline and everyone knows what that means and what it represents, but it is working towards an identity. How do you want to be known and what do you want to be known for in the market? That's important. A lot of times SaaS startups can look to be everything to everyone, and that is where you'll fall over. Everything to everyone will only get you so far before you realize that the ability to breach that 1 million ARR, 5 million ARR, 10 million ARR, you need to start to figure out what it is you are to a certain sector of the market you're trying to penetrate. That's how you get product market fit. That's how you start to see an increase in new user acquisition. Working towards a niche in the market and then gradually building on top of that till you can become something to more people. And that comes down to understanding your ICP. And the questions I put here, who are they, right? Who are your ICP? And do you understand who's actually coming to you for your product? Do they associate with the identity you're putting out there? Are they inside the identity that you're putting out there? And it may not be. I often talk to founders and I talk about two types of ICP. ICP being ideal customer profile. You will find in the early days, you might see a rapid user acquisition and the ICP will come to you. And when you look at and analyze your current customer base, you'll see users that have a high usage rate, but offer you very low value in terms of return to you. So they're essentially exploiting the value you've provided at a very low cost. So the ASP is quite low. An example may well be that you have a open source software, you have a commercial part of that as well, but the individual developers only need one particular part. So they will come in, they'll use that open source, they might even use your free plan, and they will milk it for all it's worth. They'll tap into support, they'll utilize resources, they'll increase your COGS, but your price point for that particular ICP is very low and unsustainable. And you'll find if you continue to perpetuate that ICP over time, your burn rate increases, your runway decreases, and you fail to achieve your purpose. What we instead then after you look is, well, what is the ICP that you believe you should be going after? And that's when we start to craft things around experiments. And we say, well, we believe we are best suited for a team of developers on Ruby on Rails that are working on SaaS B2B products in the greater US market. We're going to conduct an outbound campaign using Google Ads, using content, using social media campaigns, using promotional videos to talk to that market in words that we think will resonate with them. And then we see, right? And that's the ICP we believe offer the most value to us. They're going to come in at a higher ASP. They're going to utilize the value we provide at an adequate level balance with COGS. and we're going to be able to extend the LTV of that client over time through upsells and add-ons. That's our ideal ICP because it is going to sustain us into the future and also prove product market fit. So how do we find these people? We need to understand the ICP. We need to know who they are, what questions they're asking, and where are they asking them. So are people going on forums, community forums, Reddit, LinkedIn, etc.? And what is that pain they're trying to ease? We can learn a lot by just surveying external communities, Discord channels, Slack communities, Reddit communities, and just understand people in our industry and what are they talking about? What is the big hang up at the moment? And the final one is where are they? When we talk about throwing a tagline out there or throwing out an identity, it's also understanding that the initial days you might see a very strong English base of language in particular, but it doesn't mean to say that you don't have an extended ICP elsewhere. And I'll talk about that soon. Finally, experiment, as I mentioned, continually experiment on that ICP, try and find the valuable ICP that is going to continue to drive growth, and make sure that your H1 on the homepage is unambiguous. And I'll go into some examples, but what I mean when I say that is if I am searching for a particular keyword phrase and then I get to your homepage and it's not immediately apparent that this is what I came to find, then I'll leave. I will go back to my search results and look at search number 2, right? If you're going to have a very strong search presence, ensure that the landing page that they land on has an unambiguous H1 and it is exactly what you do and for the right people. So let's analyze a few H1s. So I've thrown out the CRM market here because it's easy and it's interesting to see how the competition actually position themselves against each other. So up here to the left, we can see the HubSpot customer platform, right? So it's not even a CRM at this stage, it's the customer platform. So they've started to shift their messaging a little bit there as well. And it's not until you look at it aside Salesforce that you understand that they've probably started to look at each other here and they understand that growing as in a migration from potentially a junior CRM, from a spreadsheet-driven CRM, is something they're both trying to target at this stage. How does HubSpot want you to grow? They want you to grow better. Salesforce wants you to grow faster. So it may indicate some sort of growth trajectory where maybe you've even outgrown HubSpot. You've been able to set some standard practices in your SMB for HubSpot. Now you're approaching enterprise clients and you want to be able to grow that faster, maybe move over to Salesforce. We noticed both in that first paragraph there, we're talking about seamlessly connecting, integrating teams, customers, data, and what you will see in most SaaS companies today is AI-powered, AI-enhanced, AI something in order to be ranking for those keywords that are CRM. So if I was to type in best CRM, if I was to type CRM for small business, and I saw grow better with HubSpot, HubSpot and Salesforce both have the brand recognition enough that they can get away with a more ambiguous H1. But when you are starting out, you should really be very specific and very focused on what you want people to see. Finally, I'll put Pipedrive at the bottom, the easy and effective CRM for closing deals. I don't think this is a strong H1. And the reason I don't think this is, one, Pipedrive does have a good market presence, and they do have a relatively strong brand identity with small scale SaaS. They've got quite a good founder story. But when we look at that from a H1 perspective, if I'm looking at CRMs for SaaS and I come here and it's the easy and effective CRM for closing deals, I could lift and shift that H1 across any mid-market CRM product and get the same result, right? What is it that's different about Pipedrive that's going to help me? Okay. I understand from the Salesforce one, the all-in-one CRM for small business, right? Software that's powerful, not overpowering from HubSpot, and grows with your business, right? This one here, track sales pipeline, optimize leads, manage deals with AI, and automate your entire sales process. Easy and effective CRM. That could be lifted and shifted across different platforms. So I'd suggest they could work on a stronger H1, although who am I to say they have quite a good position and they may be comfortable with their identity already. I'm going to look internally here and I'm going to present bare metrics. I'm going to put it alongside our revenue analytics and insight friends at Paddle, acquired by Profitwell. Sorry, I should say Profitwell, acquired by Paddle, and ChartMogul, our near-peer competitor in the revenue and subscription analytics space. I'm going to have a look at our current H1s here. And when I say current, is because if you remember back to the first slide around experimentation, these things should be changing. They should be changing as they evolve their ICP and start to move it around. You're looking at 3 relatively mature companies in a pretty tight competition, tight competitive market. And let's have a look at what we're doing. So starting with ChartMogul down the bottom there, we can see they've recently released a CRM platform. So they're very focused on promoting CRM alongside their subscription analytics, which is great. So if I'm looking for an all-in-one CRM and subscription analytics platform and I arrive at this H1, straight away I know that I've got my platforms there. I'm looking for a CRM and subscription analytics. I'm looking for all-in-one. And what is it for? It's for SaaS companies. And even more so in their first paragraph there, they've got boost sales and accelerate growth. And their identity statement at the bottom there, first CRM purpose-built for B2B SaaS teams. Really direct, really easy to send from a landing page, from a ad campaign. If I'm searching for a CRM for B2B SaaS, if I'm searching for analytics for B2B SaaS, quite common search terms in our industry, then I'm going to come to this page and go, great, this is what I'm looking for. There's the keyword that I had in my search. It's still fresh in my mind. I'm going to follow that scent all the way down, and I'm probably going to click on the first CTA to understand a little bit more. So quite a strong H1, great introductory paragraph, and very applicable to the search terms. If we look at Baremetrics, look internally, we've made a particular pivot and a particular deliberate move to align ourselves stronger with Stripe, particularly in this last quarter. So we are expecting people to come to us looking for Stripe analytics, Stripe dashboards, Stripe reports, Stripe insights. And as soon as they arrive at our homepage, ideally they are seeing superior dashboards and analytics for Stripe. We've also recognized that a lot of our users come to us with Stripe and they've already got an existing or an additional revenue generating tool, such as a ChargeBee, Google Play, Apple App Store, Shopify. And so while you see a static image here, if you go to our homepage, this is actually a revolving ticker. So it revolves through each integration we have. So we are now targeting that ICP that comes to us with Stripe and Google and Apple, Stripe and ChargeBee. And as we say in the paragraph there, Stripe alone or Stripe with friends, we are a subscription analytics software. It is the easiest way to get insights and understand your performance. That paragraph could probably be a little bit stronger, a little bit more associated with the keywords that are coming from the top. But for me, that H1 really represents the ICP we are looking to identify and go after in the next couple of quarters. Now, looking over at our profit well by paddle, this kind to me emulates Pipedrive to a degree. And I think the problem we have here is this was a smaller company acquired by a larger company. It has now become a sub-product of their main stack. And I don't necessarily think that this is putting out there, this isn't their primary product and therefore they don't need to have a strong identity statement. But again, if we look at this and we say subscription analytics software, accurate, accessible revenue reporting for subscription and SaaS companies, that could be lifted and shifted across multiple brands and we wouldn't know the difference. And also when we talk about subscription analytics software as a whole, very large market, everything for everyone. Look at Baremetrics, we're talking about Stripe, and we look at ChartMogul, we're talking about CRM, B2B SaaS. It makes sense and it's very well centered. So I'd suggest as you apply this to your own homepage, understand whether you're big enough to have your own identity statement already, whether you can go very agnostic like a Profitwell or like a Pipedrive, or whether you really should be focusing on a H1 that's going to resonate with the target market of that particular marketing push that you're in at this stage. I mentioned localization before, and this is just an example from an Intercom article that I've linked in the previous slide. But when you review this breakdown of where our traffic is coming from, you quickly realize that 8 out of the 15 countries here on the top, they're not English countries. So when we look at that from an opportunity perspective, we understand that that's probably a good indicator. We would increase our value to those locations if we localize some of our landing pages, some of our ads, and some of our potentially ebooks, documentation, education, promotional materials out there. We can then look to increase our relevance to those markets, increase our lead source, and because we've already got the existing content there, all we need to do is translate it and localize it. It's actually a pretty cost-effective way to do things. Now, how do we do that? Well, we're going to translate our top-performing English keywords, the subsequent landing pages, the ads that feed into it, and then we're going to test. We're going to run those for a test. We're going to see if the traffic increases, see if our conversions from those increase. And hey, it may well mean that we then identify the opportunity to hire a APAC expansion coordinator, a LATAMX regional head, whatever it might be, to isolate that geo even further. Benefits versus features. Now, this is a hot topic across the board because there's an element of brevity. There's also an element of persuasion and a bit of choice architecture here. So benefits versus features. It's very easy to list features based on what you believe your platform offers to the market. But what I put to you is we really should be speaking in benefit terms so people understand the so what behind it. Just because you have a real-time analytics dashboard, what does that mean? Well, it actually means I can make confident data-driven decisions faster, insights available in real time, right at your fingertips. So that benefit statement is what I should be using in my marketing materials, not so much a real-time analytics dashboard. Again, anyone can have that. I want to understand what it's going to do for me. I put some examples down there of pretty standard features you would see across any number of data platforms, any number of SaaS platforms, really. But the real kicker is how you talk about them and then how I see that appear on the landing page that I've clicked through to understand what you're going to do for me that's different, right? And this is where you can actually add the nuanced ways that your platform achieves that benefit versus a stock standard feature that most of your competitors probably have. Okay, so speaking in terms of benefit instead of features. Now, the next layer to how we present benefits over features is actually around loss framing as well. So I've put a link in there to a little article that you can go and read in your own time. But essentially, we know through psychology and how we make decisions that a real or a potential loss is perceived as psychologically or emotionally more severe than equivalent gain. Okay. And marketers know this as well. So marketers will use this in how they message to you, in that they will frame that you are losing more than you are actually gaining. Some really interesting experiments out there around picking up money versus dropping money. Would you appreciate picking up $100 more so than if you lost $100? Those sort of things. The one I've put here as an example, the gain frame would be you'll live longer if you don't drink alcohol. So you get this idea that I will live longer. But if I tell you that you'll die sooner if you drink alcohol, you can automatically see how the tone changes. The outcome's the same, right? Whether that's 20 years, I'd live 20 years longer or I'd die 20 years earlier, the outcome's the same. But the idea that I would live longer if I don't drink alcohol versus I'll die sooner, that loss framing is really effective way to shape decision-making and the choice architecture of your value proposition. So what does that look like in real terms? Let's go back to our feature list that we had before and have a look at how we've now been able to shape that benefit in a loss framing way. So the feature was real-time analytics dashboard. Stop missing crucial insights by relying on outdated data. Like, oh, yes, that's exactly what's happening. My spreadsheet's getting overwhelmed. My data entry is terrible. One cell corrupts the entire sheet. Start to frame it around what they're losing by not signing up with you, not what they'll potentially gain. Okay, you can see the other ones there. I won't go through them in detail, but words like stop, avoid, stop losing revenue, right, as opposed to recover lost revenue, right? Have a look at these, compare them to our table up here, and you'll be able to soon see how best to shape your benefit statements against your core features in a loss framing way to increase the likelihood of someone asking a question about your product, clicking on that CTA, moving to a trial, booking a call. So what's the next one? Post, post, post. So what I'm saying here is the elements that I mentioned at the start about socials, blogging, newsletters, GitHub commits, it can be quite overwhelming for a small startup team to think about all this additional marketing effort. And the first step is usually going to be, all right, I need to hire a marketer, right? You might even go out there, you might have pressure from the board or your VCs, and you're going to go hire a VP of marketing on $250K plus commission, and they're going to go through these elaborate marketing programs that may or may not increase your traffic, may or may not increase your PQLs, your trials, and you might see a minor tick up in NPCs. I'm here to tell you it doesn't have to be as hard as that at the very beginning. And this is something an individual GM, CEO, head of rev, whatever it is, that leadership team, that core leadership team in that startup can start to do and have repeatable results over time. So socials twice a week, blog or Reddit once per week, newsletter once per month. I'm going to show you how to make this cadence easy for you to manage, and all GitHub commits used as marketing. Now, I've seen pushback on this last one about all GitHub commits used as marketing, and I've just put a calendar over there to give you an idea of what it means when it comes to potential content that's out there. You might say to me that, well, every commit I make doesn't necessarily have a customer-facing impact. Granted, it might not. You might have increased the load speed for one of your dashboards. You might have added an additional element that's only applicable to a subset of your customer base, and so be it. But what I'm here to tell you is a GitHub commit calendar is a sign of life. It is something worth talking about, and it is something that is going to give you content for free. You don't have to think about what to write next, right? If it was a minor speed improvement to your dashboards, and I'm going to show you the exact example that I'd like to use, then you can talk about that. You've done some great work this week. What we've done is we've increased our speed. We're actively working on the product. We are trying to increase the value to our current customers by making these minor changes in the back end. It's very easy when you have multiple commits over time to think of that as minor changes, but all those rolled up is an excellent sign of life. It shows product development. It shows the market that you're doing something for them, but also it's free content for you to write about. At the bottom example I've put on there as well is a Reddit example. Reddit is becoming more and more popular, and our standard used to be to blog once per week. We're actually now pivoting more into engaging and writing on Reddit more regularly, probably more regularly than once a week as well, whether that's an original post or that's commenting in appropriate communities. Now, you might say, well, that's disingenuous. There are certain rules around Reddit, and it's sort of, there's an authenticity that comes with Reddit that you don't want to try and undermine, and that's granted. But there is so much value in just being inside those communities and understanding, again, what are the questions people are asking? What pain are they currently suffering? And do you have a potential resolution for it? You can build an authentic profile in Reddit quite easily by just engaging with the community that is associated with your platform, whether that's SaaS, whether that's entrepreneur, whether that's startups, whether that's CRM. There's a wealth of pain out there that people are just asking the community to solve for them. You can participate in that conversation quite easily, and you don't need to position it as a sale. Again, you can start to position yourself as a trusted advisor, trusted expert, and then that conversation may well evolve into something of a conversion. But what it also does is where you are able to drop in your brand, where you're able to drop in an answer to a question, you then appear on Google search. Google and Reddit have certainly solidified their relationship in the last year or so. And you'll now see that Reddit answers are more often than not in the top 3 organic responses to most questions on Google. So you'd be silly not to be in there commenting on something like the best CRM for B2B SaaS. How do you find working with Salesforce, et cetera, et cetera? Be in the comment section, be posting those questions yourself to generate discussion, to understand, to gather intelligence, to continue to generate content in other channels. So we now look at blog and Reddit once per week. Newsletter once per month. Once you've got an active customer list, as you can see there, I've just dropped in a HubSpot snippet that I got off the web, but it's an active list that's constantly being updated. It's updating with people that trialed but didn't close. It's updated by people who attended webinars but didn't start a trial. They went to demo but didn't start a trial. You're looking at people that have left you in the past, people that signed up for your ebook, people that organically signed up for your newsletter. You can have an active list in your CRM that is continually being populated by any lead source that's coming in, and you can generate valuable content. What that also allows you to do is to test messaging. You may well have 20-odd thousand contacts in there, 50-odd thousand contacts, and you want to say, well, hey, I think there's a value around this position or this messaging. I'm going to announce a feature that I want to release in 2025 and see what response I get. Hey, how many people would pay extra if I did feature X that gave you benefit Y? And you get that response. You start to build your own internal intelligence gathering tool. And again, if it's an active list and you've got a templated newsletter, you can punch that out once a month in really short time. If you've been using the GitHub commits as marketing material, you can give a quick update on your roadmap. What have we done this month? Rapid improvements to speed, rapid improvements to X, Y, and Z, updated libraries A, B, and C for the people that are more developer focused. So much you can do that cascades into that newsletter to provide further value and keep your audience engaged with what you're doing. So what might this look like? Again, this doesn't have to be overwhelming. Start somewhere as simple as your GitHub commits, all right? So all you did was improve load times, right? You did some minor backend fix, you updated a couple of third-party libraries, you decreased some reliance on JavaScript code, whatever it might be. The commit simply was improve load times. Doesn't seem that sexy, doesn't really seem that engaging to a lot of people. But how can I now leverage that, right? Here's my free content, let's work with it. I'm going to get a LinkedIn, I'm going to brag about my team, I'm going to talk about my developer team, hey, great work team. We improved our load speeds by 45%, right? Our clients are getting reports faster than ever now. Great. That's one of my socials for the week. Right, I'm going to go to Reddit, like, hey, are load times really a benefit to a standard use case in the CRM market, in the analytics market, in the ETL market, or only really important to enterprise? Let's see what people talk about. Is load speed something I should continue to pursue as an ongoing development, or will it fall down the rank of importance based on the feedback from the community as such? I'm then going to go to Twitter, where I've probably got a bit more of a developer-focused community that would appreciate the intricacies of what that actually means. So I'm going to get more specific. I'm going to say, hey, we decreased load times by 45% by optimizing JavaScript widgets, okay? something a little bit there. I might even ask a question in there as well. Anyone else found similar efficiencies? Anything else I should be looking at if I've got a good developer community? That's my third social for the week. I've done this all in about 2 minutes, right? Finally, I'm going to write a blog. That's probably my monthly blog that I'm going to write. And it's going to say, hey, what did I do over this month in regards to optimizing the platform for my clients? And then in my newsletter, I can use that as a link out from my newsletter to say, hey, read our blog in regards to our status of our roadmap and the updates that you can expect to see in your app in the next couple of months. So like I said, it might seem overwhelming at the start when we say you have to do socials, you have to do blog, you have to do Reddit, you have to do LinkedIn, you have to do a newsletter, all this sort of stuff. But you can take something as small as a GitHub commit of improved load times, and you've got your content calendar for that week already, right? Once you've got that process sustained, all you do is you cinch out an hour of your calendar once a week, once a fortnight, whatever it might be, and you just dedicate that time to pulling that one particular thread. Other good tactics that you want to start doing is when you're interrogating intercom, looking through your current client chats and understanding what questions are people asking about your current platform and how they're using it. Use that to fuel the same sort of thing, right? So the commit might not even be the trigger. The first trigger might be customer query. Hey, customer asked, why can't I segment my user base by this attribute? So my LinkedIn one is, hey, this week a client asked us whether they could segment by this. Is this really a valuable segment for people? Social and Reddit, same thing. We go and ask the same question in Reddit, right? Twitter, we present the technical problem. How can I use Ruby on Rails to segment this data set by X, Y, and Z? You can just start to build content quite organically from what would otherwise be a really small insight to your customer base, insight to your platform. I encourage you all to think about that. How do you engage your clients, right? So how do you stay close to them? Don't leave it to sales and success. This comes back to that whole GM CEO getting in front of prospects and your current clients as much as you can, really, but at least try and aim for once a week. How do you do that? Don't leave it to sales and success. Jump in there. Have a personal goal of sales calls to lead or observe. There is a bit of friction when it comes to a management personnel, whether that's the core leadership team, head of sales, even head of rev, head of growth, jumping into an account executive's calls. There's pressure on the account executive to perform. But if you've built that ongoing environment of continual improvement, then it should be expected that you're going to join those calls. It should be expected that you then ask your AE for a critique on how you manage that calls. Or you may well join it just to engage with the client and say, hey, I wanted to introduce myself. I really love what you're doing over at company X, Y, and Z. I'd love to just sit in this call and listen more about your growth initiatives and understand how maybe I can use some of that internally. I'm going to leave you with John. He's going to take care of you today, but please feel free to ask me any questions at the end of this call, and I'm more than happy to chat. And then just see what the sales call goes like. Review how this AE actually performs, but on top of that, understand how the questions the client is asking, what problems they're facing, do they have any issues? Okay, find a balance in there and find a way to be able to disseminate that sentiment across your sales team, that it's important that you understand that for the company's development, for your own development, as much as it is for the AE. If you're not comfortable with that, at a minimum, watch call recordings. Get in there, watch call recordings, have a look at the sentiments, the triggers, the keywords that you're running for. Get in there and watch call recordings. How do you keep track of your priority accounts? Often we'll have our internal client list from CRM. Success are probably focused on your top revenue accounts, etc. But what you should really do is break down your top 20%. And what I offer here on the right-hand side, this is part of Sales Navigator and LinkedIn. What you can actually do is reverse it. So you're not looking at prospecting. You're looking at using it as essentially a pulse on your current clients. These are just a few I plucked to create a list as this example. But what you're going to do is you're going to add these as your priority accounts. You're going to receive updates whenever they post, whenever there is a job listing, whenever there is a change in circumstance within the company, whatever it might be. You'll see that in Sales Navigator. What that allows you to do is then have a conversation. Also, it allows you to identify if a champion has left, if you need to start building a relationship from the ground up with a new champion inside that company, whoever was using your platform before. But it also gives you some intelligence on the direction of their company and how you can add value as a trusted advisor or whatever it might be. Offer QBRs. So QBRs are quarterly business reviews. And that's, again, that one-on-one sit down where we just say, hey, let's sit down, go through your platform, whether it's analytics, whether it's data, whatever it might be. Are we doing all we can to support you in your growth, right? Just have a script, go through that QBR with them, offer it to them at the minimum. Send personal correspondence. Like I said, if you've seen them update a blog post, if you've seen them engage in a conference, they've been elsewhere, but like just a quick ping on LinkedIn, quick email and personal email. Hey, saw this happening. Congratulations, well done. We're considering doing the same thing. Would love to learn from you and understand how you managed to achieve that in such a short time frame, right? Same sort of thing. Engage when they are engaged. If you see a top client, and again, you should have a top client list. You should know who your top clients are. They come into intercom. They come into email. There's a red flag raised in support around those top clients. Engage when they are engaged. Instead of cold emailing and saying, hey, let's get on a QBR, if they're in intercom, jump in there and like, hey, John, haven't spoken for a while. Hope we're giving you everything you need. Once Alex has fixed you up with this support request, I'd love to be able to have a call and go through your account together, right? Engage when they're engaged. They are more likely to book that call, more likely to talk to you about their experience. So team, I've whizzed through that pretty quickly today, but I hope there are some learning points in there that you can take away. Again, more than happy to do a one-on-one or a group session with any of you. But just to recap what we covered today, having a strong and clear H1 and a tagline, working towards an identity. We want to be consistent in our message all the way from that first keyword search through to the landing page, through to the product. So understanding how that keyword search will be supported throughout there, keep that scent in the funnel in order to convert. That comes from having a clear H1 tagline and working towards an identity. Who are our customers? Where are they? What are they doing? We want to be talking about benefits and not features. It's very easy to list feature A, B, and C that every one of your competitors have, but it is a lot harder to articulate the benefit of that feature as it applies to your platform and why a customer may well receive greater benefit from you than they would others, or as I mentioned, why they would stop suffering a particular problem if they came to you instead of others. So loss framing that benefit as opposed to just talking about the good things. Socials, blogs, newsletters, and GitHub commits. I think I covered this pretty thoroughly, but what I really want to try and do here is, if the fundamental principle is you should be engaging with your communities, you should be engaging the market in some way or another, there are very easy ways to use one kernel of customer feedback, of product development, of questions to fuel an entire series of social media and product posts. So don't think it has to be this giant marketing plan to start with. You can go as simple as a GitHub commit as the primary foundation of your next week's, your next month's worth of marketing. Go through with it. And finally there, speak with one client or a prospect per week. Get involved, understand what the clients are saying. This stops you from building features for the sake of it. It gets you back to what is your ICP talking about? What is your ICP doing? Are you satisfying the ICP you've got? Or do you need to continue to pursue that ICP you think will provide you the most valuable over time? The only way you do that is getting face-to-face with your clients, understanding their pains, understanding their feedback, and being there to be their trusted advisor. That's what you need to be doing. View call recordings, offer calls with them, get on calls with them, work with your sales team to continually build that continual learning environment and sort it out. So today we covered Bang the Drum. Last week was Follow the Data. I'll have both these recordings available for anyone who wants it. We're also going to release some cool little snippets throughout LinkedIn and YouTube as well, so keep an eye out for them. Next week, we'll be talking about No Lead Left Behind. And this will tie into Banging the Drum a little bit in that once you've gone to all the effort of identifying your ICP, isolating down your niche, and producing relevant material for them, so what? You need to do something with that. You need to keep them wrapped up. You need to bring them, drag them through the funnel, get them converted, and then continually cultivate that funnel over time. So No Lead Left Behind is all about what we do with that lead funnel once we've been able to generate it through our other activities. So again, team, thank you so much for joining me today. For those that were able to make the time, the recording will be available for those who need it. And I look forward to leading you through session 3 next week. Thank you very much.